What if death wasn't the end of your ability to serve God? What if even your bones could bring life to others? This sounds impossible, yet it's exactly what happened with one of Israel's greatest prophets. We're diving into one of the Bible's most extraordinary miracles, a story that challenges everything we think we know about death and God's power. This isn't just any miracle, this is Elisha's last miracle, and it happened after he was already dead. Elisha was no ordinary man. For over 50 years, he served as God's prophet to Israel. He was the successor to the legendary Elijah, inheriting a double portion of his master's spirit. Throughout his ministry, Elisha performed more recorded miracles than any other prophet except Jesus himself. He multiplied oil for a widow, raised a dead boy to life, healed Naaman's leprosy, and made iron float on water. But by 2 Kings chapter 13, this mighty prophet was dying. The text tells us plainly, now Elisha had been suffering from the illness from which he died. Even God's most powerful servants face mortality. King Joash of Israel visited the dying prophet, weeping and calling him the chariots and horsemen of Israel, recognizing that Israel was losing its greatest spiritual defender. Elisha gave his final prophecy to the king about victory over Syria, then died and was buried. The great prophet's earthly ministry seemed finished. His voice was silenced, his prayers ended, his healing hands stilled forever. Or so everyone thought, but God wasn't finished with Elisha yet. The next spring, something remarkable happened. Moabite raiders were attacking Israel, as they did every year during planting season. These weren't massive armies, just bands of warriors who swept in to steal crops and terrorize farmers. During one of these raids, some Israelites were hastily burying a man when they spotted Moabite raiders approaching. Panic set in. They needed to flee immediately, but they couldn't leave their loved one unburied. In their desperation, they did something that would normally horrify any ancient person. They threw the dead body into the nearest tomb. That tomb happened to belong to Elisha. What happened next defies all natural explanation. 2 Kings 13:21 records it simply. When the body touched Elisha's bones, the man came to life and stood up on his feet. Imagine the shock, picture the scene. Mourners fleeing from raiders suddenly witness the impossible. A dead man, moments after touching the bones of God's prophet, springs to life. The very bones that should have been powerless in death became instruments of resurrection. This miracle reveals profound truths about God's power. First, death doesn't limit God's ability to work through his servants. Elisha's ministry didn't end with his last breath, it continued even through his remains. God's anointing on this prophet was so powerful that it persisted beyond death itself. Second, this miracle demonstrates that God's power isn't bound by conventional rules. We might expect miracles to require living prophets, elaborate rituals, or perfect faith. Instead, God chose to work through dried bones and a panicked burial. The resurrection happened not because anyone had great faith, but because God's power remained present in unexpected places. Third, this story foreshadows greater truths about resurrection. Centuries later, another prophet would speak of dry bones coming to life in Ezekiel's vision. Ultimately, Jesus Christ would conquer death permanently, offering resurrection to all who believe. Elisha's bones bringing life points forward to the ultimate life-giver. The man who came back to life that day experienced something beyond medical explanation. One moment he was dead, the next he was standing alive. He became living proof that God's power transcends death. His resurrection served as a sign to Israel that despite their spiritual decline, God's power remained available. This miracle also speaks to us today. When we feel spiritually dead, when our circumstances seem hopeless, when we think God can't possibly use us anymore, remember Elisha's bones. God can bring life from death, hope from despair, purpose from emptiness. His power isn't limited by our limitations or our past failures. Elisha's final miracle reminds us that God's servants leave lasting legacies. The prophet's influence didn't end with his funeral. His faithfulness created a spiritual inheritance that continued blessing others long after he was gone. Our faithful service to God creates ripple effects that extend far beyond our earthly lives. This extraordinary story challenges us to trust in God's unlimited power and to serve Him faithfully, knowing that our impact for His kingdom may continue in ways we never imagined, even beyond death itself. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And remember to hit the notification button so you won't miss the new weekly videos.